Today, on the Locked On Blues podcast, Jordan Binnington was suspended 2 games for his actions in the loss to the Minnesota Wild. Was he justified? Should he have been suspended longer? Is he the biggest crybaby in the league? Answering all that and more. Plus, the Blues beat the Capitals just a few moments ago, 5-2. Sammy Blais scored 2 goals. Going to be talking about all of that and more on today's episode. Make sure you stay tuned.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Locked On Blues podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your number one source for Blues content. I'm your host, as always, Josh Hyman. If this is your first time tuning into the show, welcome. Like I said, I'm Josh Hyman. I've been covering the Blues for about 5 years, whether it be writing, tweeting, or podcasting. And I've been doing this show for about 3 or so years, having a lot of fun with it. If this isn't your first time tuning in, welcome back. Thanks for coming. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for making Locked On Blues your hashtag first listen. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts, plus on YouTube as well. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm wearing the green, everybody, to celebrate, so nobody pinch me. We got a lot to talk about today. Before I get into it, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. All right. First things first, let's talk about Jordan Binnington. There's a lot here. So let's go back. Let's for those of you that somehow live under a rock and didn't see it, the Blues are kind of getting their butts kicked by the Minnesota Wild. They've given up a lot of goals. They were up, I believe, 4-1 or 3-1. They were up a couple goals. Minnesota scored a couple quick ones. On one of their goals, Ryan Hartman scores. Jordan Binnington sort of out of his crease sliding. Hartman skates by, bumps into Binnington. Bennington takes exception to the fact that his team has given up multiple goals recently, and taken exception to the fact that he has gotten pretty much no support from his defense all season. Emotions boil over for Jordan Binnington. He gets up, skates over to the goal celebration, and hits Hartman with his glove, hits him in the head, knocks him down. Scuffle ensues. Marc-Andre Fleury skates over, tries to start a goalie fight, and the linesman, who wants no fun whatsoever, no excitement, breaks up the fight. As my cat knocks something over, apologies for the loud noise. Breaks up the fight. No goalie fighting allowed. First of all, that is primary proof number one. A lot of people on Twitter and stuff say, "Oh, Jordan Binnington, he's such a crybaby. He always is instigating, but he's never willing to step up and actually throw down." That is such a lie. If goalie fighting was still allowed, he would have gotten in like 6 fights already. It's just the linesman already break it up. This most recent one was the closest he's ever come. Him and Fleury were about an arm's length from each other before the linesman came in and broke it up. Disappointing that we didn't get to see that. Fleury was caught on the hot mic basically saying, "Come on, it'll be good, it'll be fun," which it would have been really fun. Bennington gets ejected, gets himself a match penalty, and then gets himself a 2-game suspension. I'm mixed on how I feel about it. First of all, I'm not in the boat of, "Oh my God, he should have been suspended longer, intent to injure, he's a crybaby, whatever." Like, can you really fault him for showing emotion and getting frustrated and trying to rally up the team? He's getting thrown out and he's hyping up the crowd, throwing his arms in the air. Like, that's good for the Blues. That's good for the fans. Fans went crazy, and Bennington, incidental or not, absolutely got bumped by the goal scorer Ryan Hartman. And it's common knowledge in hockey, you don't touch the goalie. Justin Falk took exception and went to skate over, but Bennington beat him there. I don't think Ryan Hartman was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to skate into Jordan Binnington and try to hurt him." But I also don't think Ryan Hartman did anything to get out of the way. It was more of like, "Oh, you know what? He's in my way. I'll skate by and I'll bump him." I don't think it was aggressive or egregious from Hartman at all, but I definitely think there was a little bit of instigation there from Hartman, a little bit, and Bennington responded accordingly. Look, he's a hothead, he's an emotional guy, he's a sore loser. So am I. Like, I don't know if I would have reacted much differently if I was in Jordan Binnington's situation. I think a lot of people that have played a sport, and I have not played it at a competitive level at all. I played high school hockey, but I know how that can get to you. That can get you fired up. And it's like, Bennington's been frustrated all year. He's had a couple of these instances. He was talking back and forth with the wild bench already in the game. And yeah, it's not the best look for him. He does come off as a little bit of a sore loser when his team is down, but like, so what? I would rather a guy that goes out there and shows emotion than a guy that just gets scored on left and right and doesn't give a crap. So it's at the end of the day, should he have done it? Should he have punched him in the face? And when he was blindsided, unexpected? No, probably should have controlled his emotions a little bit more. But at the same time, I don't think there have been times in the past where I've called out Bennington for his antics and said, he probably should have done that. It's a bad look. This one, I don't think is so much of a bad look. Yeah, he got suspended. Yeah, he probably deserved to get suspended. However, it's justified. As from a human emotion perspective, it's justified. Bennington plays with emotion. I've been saying that for years, that he absolutely feeds off of his emotion. And I fully expect that when he comes back from the suspension, he is going to light it up. He has been playing really, really solid hockey as of late. Obviously, the Minnesota game was an exception. He let in some stinkers in that one. But I think this is going to do well for his game, rile him up, get him playing with a lot of emotion, a lot of intensity moving forward. And it's water under the bridge. Like, this isn't the conversation we need to be having, days in advance, but people won't shut up about it. And the thing that's frustrating is I feel like other goalies showing that sort of emotion gets praised. Like, there was some guy in the AHL, I can't think of the name, but there was the exact same time that the Bennington stuff was trending, there was an AHL goalie that was trending because he had gotten a fight and got ejected, and it was like, oh yeah, he's badass, he's so cool. But then Bennington does it, and it's like he's public enemy number one, and he just took a hose and sprayed it all over a child's birthday party because he's an evil. It's like, pick and choose your battles. As much as I hate to say it, Jordan Binnington is the new Brad Marchand of the NHL. He has earned himself a reputation where he can't breathe on someone. He can't look at someone the wrong way without hockey Twitter freaking out and calling for his head, calling him for him to be kicked out of the league. I saw some incredible reactionary takes after this. It's silly, but look, he thrives in that role. He likes to be hated. He likes to that negative attention. So at the end of the day, he's got a ring. Most goalies in the NHL don't have a ring. He has the last laugh. Let's move on. This segment has gone on for a few minutes too long. Let's talk about the Washington Capitals game, and then in the final segment, I'm going to give my award for Player of the Week as we are wrapping up this week of episodes. Before I get into that, though, I want to tell you guys about FanDuel Sportsbook. Now, it is right in the midst of March Madness. We just had a 16 seed beat a 1 seed. Incredible. Purdue lost to FDU. And I made a little bit of money on that game. I'm not going to lie. It was a good bet. And if you want to follow in my footsteps and bet on March Madness or the NHL or the NBA or professional table tennis, you got to check out FanDuel Sportsbook. Plus, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It is safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line, point scores, threes drained. You can bet on it all. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. Don't miss the chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That is FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. We'll be right back with the second half of today's episode. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the St. Louis Blues took on the Washington Capitals, a team in a similar position to them in the standings, and came away with a convincing 5-2 victory, one of their best performances of the year. Joel Hofer got the start. amidst Jordan Binnington's suspension and absolutely showed out, made 32 saves on 34 shots for a .941 save percentage, got his second career NHL win and only his third career NHL start. Probably the backup for the Blues next season. So it's good for him to get some run in this game. And other than that, the Blues played a really, really good game. They might have, they didn't get a ton of shot attempts on goal, only getting 21 shots on Darcy Kemper. That has been a problem for them all season, shot generation. However, when they did get shots, they made them count, specifically Sammy Blais, who got the first ever 2-goal game of his career, scoring a couple goals in this game. I believe he scored the opening goal. He did, as well as the 4th goal for them. So didn't get the game winner, unfortunately, but Doug Armstrong, absolute masterclass. You got Sammy Blais, trade acquisition gets the first goal. Jacob Vrana, trade acquisition, gets an assist on the second goal. Kasperi Kapanen, waiver acquisition, gets the third goal. And Sammy Blais, trade acquisition, gets the 4th goal. The Blues are screwing up their own tank by being too good at a rebuild. Sammy Blais has been so good. He has more goals than Vladimir Tarasenko has as a member of the Rangers. Blais has a couple more, I believe, as does Vrana. I believe Blais and Vrana combined have more goals than Tarasenko and O'Reilly combined or something like that. But O'Reilly has been hurt. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, the Blues played a great game. They didn't generate a ton of shots on goal, which, isn't a sustainable way to win games in the long term, but it was a sustainable way for them to win this one. They got 4 goals pretty early on in this game. Washington kind of battled back a little bit in the third period, cutting the lead to 4-2, but they got that second goal so late that it was never really in doubt. Braden Shen got the empty netter from Nick Leddy. Good to see Leddy get on the board. But yeah, I mean, really, really solid win from the St. Louis Blues. Solid effort throughout. You look at Joel Hofer and the fact that he was making his first start of the season, amidst a suspension, wasn't obviously prepared for it at all. He had a really good game, one of the best goaltending performances we've seen from anyone on the St. Louis Blues in a hot minute. Sammy Blais getting 2 goals in just 13 minutes of ice time is amazing as well. My cat is currently rummaging through some papers, so if you hear that, I apologize. She's a menace. She likes to have herself heard on the podcast. Papers for you. Okay. Yeah, Sammy Blais, great game. 2 goals in only 13 minutes of ice time. Great to see there. Jordan Kyrou gets himself another goal on a breakaway. He has had a spectacular week. Spoiler for the third segment. Couple penalty minutes for Kapanen as well as a goal. Nick Leddy gets himself 2 assists. Love to see Leddy have a multi-point game. I'm not sure the last time he's done that. Parayko and Krug get assists as well. Plus, Buchnevich gets himself an assist, which extended his point streak to 11 games. There's another point streak as well, if I can find that quickly. Nope. I know someone else on the team extended their point streak to 5. I just don't remember who. If anyone wants to let me know in the comments of this video or on Twitter, much appreciated. But yeah, I mean, really encouraging game. Obviously, if you're rooting for the tank, if you're rooting for Bedard to the Blues, you're not thrilled. But if you're looking at the long-term success of this team, you're looking at guys that are under contract for more than just this year, should be feeling pretty optimistic. I mean, Sammy Blais is a guy that clearly didn't fit in with the New York Rangers, who has come back to his home, not his hometown, but his original team, the St. Louis Blues, and has been putting on a show. Looks right at home, looks really comfortable. Like I said earlier, had his first multi-goal game of his career, I believe. And you got a guy like Kasperi Kapanen, who was picked up on waivers, who has exceeded expectations, and a guy like Jacob Vrana, who I said a couple episodes ago could be a potential 30-plus goal scorer for the St. Louis Blues. Don't sleep on him. I really, really like Vrana's game. He brings so much speed and skill to this team, something that they're lacking a little bit outside of, the core guys. He had himself an assist tonight, too, so he's not just a goal scorer. No one on the team was a minus, which is great. Justin Falk +2 in 24 minutes of ice time. He's been struggling a little bit lately, so it's good to see him have some success there. As far as the Capitals, I feel like it would be a frustrating game as a Capitals fan. They got a lot of shots on goal and just couldn't finish, couldn't generate opportunities outside of initial shots. Rebound control was pretty good from Hofer, so that's an encouraging sign. I talk a lot about winning games you deserve to win and losing games you deserve to lose. But what makes a good team is winning games you deserve to lose. And I don't necessarily know if the Blues deserve to lose this game, considering they got out to a 4-0 start. But the Blues of this year lose this game a lot of the time. A game where they get pretty much doubled on the shot counter. They have a third string goalie in net. It is a game that you pretty much expect them to lose. And the fact that they kind of battled through and got a gritty win and only got one goal from one of their main core guys in Jordan Kyrou, unless you count the Braden Shen empty netter. Really encouraging stuff, not just for this season, but for seasons moving forward. That being said, in this third and final segment, I'm going to be giving my pick for Locked On Player of the Week, kind of flipping on an old segment I used to have, Locked On Player of the Game. Want to switch it out every Friday. We'll do a Player of the Week award, so make sure you stay tuned for that, and we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right. There were a couple guys that I was deciding between for player of the week, which to be clear, this is dating back to the March 11th game against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So the Blue Jackets game, the Vegas game, the Minnesota game, and the Capitals game. There are a couple guys that I was choosing between. I'll give my honorable mentions first. Pavel Buchnevich has had a really, really solid week. He's got himself a bunch of points, including a hat trick in the game against Minnesota. Also has an 11-game point streak going. He's been really good. Sammy Blais has had a really solid week. A couple other guys as well come to mind. Colton Parayko, I think, is playing his best defensive hockey of the year lately, which is really encouraging to see. Jacob Verana has himself a couple points. I thought about picking him, but looking at the stats, looking at the point totals, there is no one else I can give this to other than Jordan Kyrou. He started off the week against Columbus with a hat trick, 3 goals on 5 shots on goal and 16 minutes of ice time. He followed that up the very next day with a goal and an assist. Oh, it was Kyrou who has a point streak. I was saying earlier, I couldn't remember who it was. He has a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-game point streak. He followed it up with a goal and an assist against the Vegas Golden Knights, bringing his total up to 5 points in 2 games. He then had an assist in the loss to the Minnesota Wild, making it 6 points in 3 games, and finished off the week with a goal in the win over the Washington Capitals just a few hours ago tonight, bringing his total for the week to 5 goals and 2 assists for 7 points in 4 games, looking like an absolute superstar, face of the team moving forward, a guy that deserves every penny of the contract extension he received. Jordan Kyrou is the first inaugural Locked On Player of the Week for this channel. I'm going to have obviously more going forward. But yeah, I mean, I really liked Kyrou's game lately. I think he struggled a little bit leading into this point streak. Berube called him out alongside some of the other top players, and it really feels like he's flipped a switch since then. His ice time has shown accordingly. It was down a little bit there in times. He only played 14 minutes tonight, but that's because the Blues were walloping them so much. But playing around 16, 17, 18 minutes in the last few games, which is even a little bit down from him. He's playing 20 minutes in a lot of games, but playing good hockey, playing better defensive hockey than we're used to seeing out of Jordan Kyrou. It still isn't great. He's still a little bit of a negative defender in that end, but you're not paying Jordan Kyrou to be a great defensive player. Anything he can give you on that end is sort of just a plus, as long as it's not a Vladimir Tarasenko situation where he kind of completely gives up and coasts in that end. Sorry to hit Tarasenko with the stray, but it's kind of true. At least Kyrou gives effort in the defensive end, which is encouraging to see. And lately, he's been getting rewarded for that a little bit more. He's been picking off some passes. He's been creating some turnovers, creating some breakouts and stuff. So I've really liked the play I've seen out of him. And the points are just the cherry on top. Obviously, you'd love to see players put up tons and tons of points, but it's the eye test that really matters. I always said this about Robert Thomas specifically, and a little bit less Jordan Kyrou, that before they really broke out, both of those two, but more so Robert Thomas, it was like everything but the points was there for them. They would make great plays, great passes, create great opportunities, and they just couldn't finish. And it always felt like they played a lot better than the stat sheet showed. But now the stat sheet is catching up to both of them. Thomas, not so much. He doesn't have quite the point total that Kyrou has, but he's still up there. He's less flashy of a player, so he's going to get noticed a little bit less. But he's making great reads. He's making great plays. But Jordan Kyrou has emerged as probably the number one forward option on this team, if not Pavel Buchnevich, who just has quietly put up pace for almost a 100-point season, I believe. in a full 82 games. So the offense of this team is looking really, really good moving forward. They are in great hands with Jordan Kyrou, Robert Thomas, Pavel Buchnevich, Jacob Vrana, and company. Just the defense they've got to get figured out. Stop me if you've heard that before on this podcast. But yeah, that being said, that is all the time I have for you guys today. Hope you all had a wonderful week. Hope you're having a wonderful St. Patrick's Day. I will talk to you guys again on Monday. That being said, make sure you check out the podcast on all podcast platforms completely free. Check out the podcast on YouTube. You can see my beautiful face. You can check out the show on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Blues. You can check out me on Twitter at Josh Hyman NHL. Like I said, have a wonderful weekend. Talk to you soon. And as always, let's go Blues.